Well, good morning. So we're on day 2 of the Wealth Creation University. Now, what did I learn yesterday? It was an absolutely fascinating day. We were bombarded with information, and it really was one of those enlightening moments. Now, there were 5 takeaways that I had from yesterday. The first one was, Hannes asked, what is your purpose? Now, we went around the class and everyone had their purpose, but they were vague. As an example, mine was to really, use my ability and my potential as much as possible, but to really add massive value to other people. And he went on to say that if my purpose is to try and help other people, I'm always going to fail. Your purpose needs to be about yourself. He uses a phrase from Og Mandino, which he learnt in 1982, which is about how he's got to strain his potential till it's crying out for mercy. That he doesn't want to just be a grain of sand, but he must turn that grain of sand into a mountain and become everything that he can become. It was an eye-opening moment in terms of what is your purpose and how one can actually achieve it. The next thing we went on to, which I thought was very interesting, was quantum physics. Now, for someone like myself, I've never understood how that would have any relevance to business or success or life. But he went into it and he showed how there were different schools of thought and how they showed the difference between particles and waves. But the bottom line, without boring you with quantum physics, is what the underlying message was that there were different results based on who the observer was. He went on to show us that in business, your results are determined by yourself because you are the observer. And what you observe and what you focus on is what you get. Now, I know that that's been heard before, but it is very profound. And Tony Robbins describes it as you can be driving down the road and there can be 400-meter gaps between telephone poles and you have a blowout with your tire. But very often people drive straight into the telephone pole, even though the chances of hitting it are very small. The reason being is because they focus on it. And that's what Hannes is trying to say with regards to quantum physics as well, is that what you focus on and what you observe is what you will actually see and what you will experience in life. The third thing that I found fascinating was the disc profile. Now again, this has been around since the 1920s. Tony Robbins actually has a free one on his website. It's fascinating. You've got 4 types of people. You've got the drivers, you've got the I's who are the innovators or the influencers, you've got the S's who are the systems people, and you've got the C's who are the controls. Now, I've always understood profiling and why it's important, and for the record, I'm very strong in the D and I, which makes perfect sense to me because we then looked at it from a business component. And if you're weak on the systems and the controls, then that'll have an influence on business. As an example, one of the delegates who was there, I was talking to him the night before. He'd opened a pub in London, and within 6 months he'd gone bankrupt and lost a fortune. Unfortunately for him, he was very strong in the S and C's. So the D and I's, which is the coming up with business ideas, having the innovation and the drive and the marketing to set them up, he didn't have that. And it all made sense now as to why the business went bankrupt. But myself, on the other hand, I've built a business with a massive turnover, but it didn't have the right controls and systems in place so that one could get the maximum profit out of the situation. So it was fascinating to see how it comes in from a business context. Hannes also spoke about it with regards to the business levels, D being business level 1, I being 2, S being 3, and C being 4. And how one actually needs to go through that process. And depending on where you are in the process, in terms of what your profile is, will determine your strategy in terms of how you should invest in business. Now that is very, very important, and people need to understand that to ensure their success, or more importantly, to try and make sure they don't fail. He also said, which I thought was very important, is that you need to understand your profile, and then you can't change your profile, and you need certain requirements in every business. So if you don't have the requirements, you've got to go and find people with the right disc profile to actually help you build a great business. Now, they don't have to be partners, they can be employees. You've got to find employees with the right type of thing. So if you're an S or a C and you need salesmen or marketing, you need to employ those type of people. But it's also what stage of the business life, because there's 7 levels of a business life that you need to invest in them. He went into a lot of detail on the formula for riches. Now, this is his own trademarked formula. And at the end of the day, it's your intent equals your focus. And, one has to be so precise as to what you're trying to achieve. But then you also need to have the systems in place to check your results. Because at the end of the day, your results don't lie. Now, it's quite an in-depth formula that he goes into. And at the end of the day, you need to manage each and every part of that process. You need to go forward along the formula for riches, and if you're not getting the results you want, you've got to go backwards and work out where it's going wrong. And only when it's actually going right and you're getting the results you want do you use the accelerator principle to really start to grow that business, to enhance that business, and possibly even to use those principles in other businesses. He talks about the zigger and the zagger. He says most people in life are ziggers. The successful people in life are zaggers. Now, I don't have time enough today to actually go into that and explain that, but the bottom line is you've got to look at what everyone else is doing and consider that there should be better alternatives, because 96% of people actually retire without enough money, and over 96% of businesses fail within the first 10 years. So you don't want to be copying the masses, and that's the principle behind the Zagger technique. And then the last thing that I thought was very, very good was the wealth creators business model. Now, this is an in-depth model, and I'll do a separate video with actually the diagram to explain it. But the bottom line principles are that it's in a circle and starts at the top with S, which is strategy. Now, there's a hell of a lot which comes in that strategy, and it's everything that I've discussed. You've got to use the formula for riches, you've got to use your disc profile, you've got to know where you are, you've got to know who you are, you've got to know where you are, and you've got to know where you want to go to. You've also got to understand the difference of where you are on a business level, and you've also got to understand where you are on a financial level. Now, something that I found fascinating yesterday was that it's very important to be higher on a financial level than on a business level. If you're higher on your business level than your financial level, then you're spending too much, you're living above your means, and it's only a matter of time until you go under. You've got to work on your financial level. And then with the formula for riches, as I explained, you've got to go up the formula and you've got to go back down the formula until you actually achieve the results that you want to achieve. Once you start achieving the results you want to achieve, you then move on to the second process, which is the M, or the money making process. And there's three parts to that. And that is effectively creating a product, it is getting it out in the market in terms of marketing that product, and ultimately it's making money from that product. And once you're in that step and it's working, that's when you start to implement the systems and the controls that really help you grow that business. And most importantly, that's around a level 4 to level 5, where that business starts to grow and ultimately achieves the objective which you want, which is to help that business grow to a level that you are no longer necessarily needed to be running that business on a day-to-day basis. Ultimately, it gives you that financial freedom that you're looking for with regards to business. And so, ladies and gentlemen, those are some of the takeaways. It's very difficult to try and put sort of 12 hours of knowledge into a 6 or 7 minute video, but it was fascinating. You can see here we at Shumba's Rest. Actually, over there in the corner, all the delegates are currently having breakfast, getting ready for day number 2. I wait. If today was as good as yesterday, huge amount of knowledge. Now it's going to be taking that knowledge, applying it, and really getting the results which I would like to achieve and which I would like to help you achieve. So, thank you for the update, and I'll certainly update you tomorrow morning on what we learned today. Have a great day. Cheers.